In this tutorial, we're going to see how you can handle missing value in Python, how you can handle missing value in your dataset. So what can you do, or how can you handle those missing value in your dataset in Python? First and foremost, I'm going to show you the data frame I'm going to use in this particular tutorial. Here is my data frame, and you can see my data frame. The name is staff details, and I have this particular data frame. Okay, actually is a CSV file. So I have this particular data frame, and I'm going to import that into Python by using import pandas, import pandas as PD. Okay, import pandas as PD. Then I'm going to use data frame equals to PD dot the read CSV file, that uses the read CSV function to import my dataset. Now the name of my file is staff.csv. Okay, let's import that here, and I have my data frame. Okay, let's run this line of code, and that imports my dataset into Pandas. Now, now you can see this headings I'm having this. Now this is as a result of in this particular place I have this particular headings. So the moment I delete this off, remove the entire row. The moment I delete that off and I save this all the way in, and I go back to this and I run this line of code, that gives me the right heading. Alternatively, I won't do that. I just want to leave it the way it is. What I'm going to do, and I run this particular line of code, I still have this. So what I'm going to do, all you need to do here is to just type a comma and you put header equals to 1. Okay, now because that is 1, so you can see the headers there. Now if I want to now, you can see I have some missing values here. I want to fill this missing value. One of the ways to do that in Python is to use the fill now. One of the ways to use the fill now function in Python. I just use that fill now function in Python. Okay, that's the data frame. Now I've already defined df to be my data frame, so I'm answering that df dot fill now was set anywhere there is a missing value. You can see in my dataset here where I have missing values. When I have missing values in my dataset, you can see where I have missing values. Here it Python in NA saying that now the value is not available, as you can see there. Okay, now if I want to fill that at wherever there is missing value, Python should just fill it with 7, and I run this. Now the moment I run that line of code, you can see where I have missing value, Python just fill that with 0. So I said wherever there's missing value, Python should fill that particular with 0. But when you start it doesn't make sense filling the name with 0. But for the salary, we can say, okay, fine, that the person has no salary, it has no commission. So that is fine, but here having total is also not reasonable. Okay. Then another way of doing this is this. We can still use the fill now function. We still use the fill now function, and we decide to use the dictionary. Okay. Or use the dictionary here. Okay. Now, using the dictionary, we say one analysis in here, one analysis in another here. It's case sensitive. So we'll have a last name. We'll talk about okay, well, when there is a last name says Python fill that particular cell with no last name. Okay, that means we don't have the last name in a record. Okay, where we have so for this there will be no last name, no last name. For where we have the salary, where we have salary, because salary cannot be that empty. Let's say where there is no salary, people that don't have salary, probably they were just employed, they are yet to input their salary value. So let's call that those people are fifth time. Okay, so we just effectively much we just employ and get input their salary values. Commission for this particular set of cleaners, set of workers, let's say commission. Okay, now for commission for this set of workers, let's say zero, because they are not expected to get any commission. So I'll edit this and make sure that the comma here and the comma here. Okay, now that's the commission. And now the total salary. Where we have any value for total salary, do we want what do we want there for total salary? Now if there is for total salary, and then comment. No, I don't know. I'll call you back. I'm recording. I'm recording. I'll call you back. I'm here looking at the salary is salary is total salary. Total salary is let's say not calculated. Okay, let's assume about this. We run this particular line of code. What Python is going to do is you can see for each of them, no last name, no last name. Total salary not yet calculated, commission is zero. Another way of using the fill now, another way of using the fill now is to use the method inside of it. We can decide to use the method instead of all this. Instead of the fill now method. Okay, we can see method. We can call that f fill. Now, other ones where there is a null value, in case here I have a null value, I'm filling this value in the filling cells. And where there is a null value here, fill it with where there is a null value here, make use of this value to fill this particular value. Now, but it all depends on your dataset, the type of dataset you have. It all depends on the type of dataset you have, and this is my dataset. Now you can see here all what I'm telling Python when there is a null value here, fill it with this value. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell Python to do now. So I run this line of code. Now running that line of code, you can see going to my original dataset. Now looking at my original dataset that I salary, you can see it brought that forward because I said forward field, and that for this it brought that forward field. Now we can choose of forward, we can use backward field. Now instead of Python making use of this value to fill this empty cell, Python when I use this value to fill the empty cell, use the value to fill the empty cell, and use this to fill this, and use this to fill this, and use this to fill this. So that's allowed, but it all depends on your data set. But for this type of data set, using this method is not actually okay, but just because of for the sake that I'm only teaching, trying to show you how to use the different methods, different ways to fill in any missing value in your dataset, and just want to make use of this particular dataset. So when I do that for this, Python, you can see Python makes use of this value to fill this. use this value to fill it. That is how the backward fill works. Then another way of having missing data in your dataset is to use the fill now. For instance, now you can see that if I use the fourth fill will fill those test ones. For instance, I have like my data set here. Now you can see I have this value, I have this value. Now, if I decide to delete, let me see. If I decide to delete this here, and I save this. Now you can see in the commission column, I have how many rows empty? 1, 2, 3. I have up to 3 rows empty under the commission column. And I go back to this import. I import this data afresh. Now you can see I have 1, 2, 3 data empty. Now once I go back to this particular line of code and I tell Python forward fill, okay, forward fill and I run that line of code. Now you can see Python filling it up to 3 times. But if I don't want to do that, I said to Python instead of forward fill, I want to do this. This is what I want. I want you to, instead of you to repeat it up to 2 times, I just want you to repeat it just once. So I'm going to type limit once. So Python is just going to repeat it just only for this particular row. Now you can see Python just repeated that this value just for this particular row and one, two is not included. So I can set Python, you can limit it up to 2, and Python is going to limit that up to 2. So another way of handling missing value in Python is to use what we call or use a fill now. We can also use interpolate. We can use interpolate. Now that is interpolate, but interpolate is good in a situation whereby you can project your dataset. But based on this type of dataset I have, using interpolation method is not a very nice and good idea to use interpolation in my dataset. So let me just quickly run this line of code all over again. Okay, now then if I want to now use interpolation, that is a kind of projecting to project my dataset. It doesn't really work well. Now, but you can see, but let me bring up the original dataset so we can see clearly. Now you can see for the salary, you can see Python interpolating. Now you can see the next value. Now Python makes use of this particular value to project the next value, and makes use of this particular value to project the next value for the commission, and project for this other value, and project for this other value. So, but interpolation is good when you're expecting an incremental value in your data set. Then you can use the method of interpolation. But nevertheless, for this particular kind of data set is not actually really suitable using interpolation to use interpolation to project this particular data set. So using interpolation, we can also use method in interpolation. By default, Python is going to use a linear method to interpolate, but there are different types of methods you can use for interpolation. You can decide to use quadratic, and you might use quadratic, but depending on your dataset. If the dataset cannot be used, quadratic cannot be used in your dataset, Python is going to say no, that you can't use quadratic. You can't use quadratic. Python is going to give you an error and say no, you can't use quadratic now. Okay. Now you can see using quadratic for this particular it was suitable. That is why Python actually used it to project. But just as I said earlier, on this type of dataset is not suitable for using the interpolation method. Okay. Now another way of projecting your dataset is to use the drop now. You need to drop now to project your dataset. So once you use the drop now, that's drop now. In other words, drop NA. Wherever there is NA value, Python is going to drop that off your dataset. So you can see 1, 2 has been dropped. 1, 2, 3 has been dropped. Why? You can see I have here 3 has been dropped. Why? Because there is a missing value. Python dropped that. You can see Ganama and Jai. Okay, this has been dropped because there is a missing value. This has been dropped because there is a missing value, and Python continued from here. So Python picked the first value here because there is no missing value, but from the second to the third value, because there is a missing value, Python decided to drop that. So alternatively, I can tell Python I just don't want to drop that. As long as there is on our way of doing it, I can tell Python drop all. That is how. How do you want to drop this value? Oh, it's just similar to what we did now. Very, very similar to what we did now. Let me run this line of code. Let me run that line of code. Now, running this line of code, you can see that when I come to this place, now you can see Python just I used all, drop all. Now, Python will only drop Python will only drop a particular row if all the values in that row is empty. Like for instance, I have one value. Because of this single value I have here, Python is not dropping this particular row. All the rows are available. But now that I just deleted it now, and I decide to run that line of code all over again, I quickly run this. Now you can see I will have this. Now when I run this particular line of code all over again, now you can see Python. Python is going to drop that. Python is going to drop this. Now you can see all that particular line of code has just been dropped. Now you can see after Anthony, Python dropped it because I took Python out. All. Whenever there is all, you drop it. Okay, I can tell Python, don't drop all. As long as there is one row in that particular dataset, don't drop it. Now, there is one row. As long as there is one row in that particular dataset, don't drop it. As long as there is one cell in that particular row that has dataset, that has a value, don't drop it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use what we call the stretch. So in this particular drop now, I'm going to type the stretch equals to 1. Okay, but first and foremost, we have to run this line of code as usual. We import that into our dataset. Now you can see we have that here. So we have to use this. Let me copy this. What was here is how, that is all. Okay, now, so this will run. Fact, as long as there is one value, don't drop it. Now you can see Python retain the value 1, 2, 3, for because in each row there is at least one cell with a particular value. But when make use of this area, Python won't hesitate to drop that particular row because there is no single value. So this is how to use the drop now in Python, and this how to use this how to handle missing value in Python using the fill now and the drop now function. If you like this video, please can you give it a thumb up, can you subscribe to our social media channel, our Instagram channel, our Facebook channel, and our TikTok channel. Thank you.